Alright, well I'm recording now, so... Oh yeah, I already have the link to the PowerPoint, hold on. Alright, the slides. I have it here. Have fun. Wait. Oh, where is it? There we go. Yeah, 50 viewers, I can't believe we already have 50 people in here. A tenth of the class. Alright, I'll just say when I move to the next slide, if you can't see it. Oh wait, are you signed into your Google accounts for that? Because I think I have it set to that. I would Twitch stream, but I'd rather not. Let's see, change to link to UMBC, whatever. Anyone with the link. Alright, I should have changed the thing. Okay. Alright, so we're back to the slideshow. Yes. I just talked about these, but you know that a piece is complete, so you don't need to move it. So can a complete piece move? Absolutely not. You don't care. If a piece is on, can I draw this?
Can I draw this?
Yeah. Alright. So is the piece on the board? If you know that the piece is not on the board, no, you don't need to change anything in main. That's, yeah. Yeah, so if a piece isn't on the board and you've already checked that it's not complete, that means it's at the beginning. It's like these pieces 1 through 4 here. These aren't on the board and they're also not complete. So you need to get it to the first board square. If you can, of course. I mean, maybe you can hop over if you rolled a 2. But anyways, if it's not on the board, you need to put it there. So you need to know where the start is, either by having a member variable or passing in an argument to your can move function, what have you, whichever method works for you. You can also check if this is the last board square, as in the next white or next black, depending on which color we're talking about, is nothing at all, none. That means you're on the last board square. If you're on the last board square, oh, is only piece 5 supposed to go in the entrance? Well, currently piece 5 is the only one on the entrance. This is just an example of it sometime during the game. And only one piece can be on a board square at a time. So if I rolled a 1 and I said 6, okay, go to the end. Then 6 and 7 could be out here, but if I rolled a 1 with any of these, you couldn't move it onto the board. It just wouldn't work because you can't have multiple pieces on the same spot. But yeah, if you're on the last board square and you roll a 1, or if you're continuing to move and you find yourself at the end and there's one move left, that means this piece just scored. It goes off the board and it's complete. And that goes hand in hand with num moves remaining tiles. Like that could be a for loop, it could be a while loop. And each time you move, by getting next white or next black out of the board square, that would subtract 1 from num moves. And at the end of it all, like if you're still on the board after you've moved that number of times, and there's a piece on this tile, you can't actually do that. That's a no from can move. If it's the opposite color though, and it's not a rosette, then it's a yes. You can do that. By the way, I noticed in office hours a lot of people trying to get can move to work have said, okay, it passes all these tests from homework 6, but there are a couple of mistakes in it. Mostly from let's try and open my, I'm gonna open, where's the test? Okay, from the test, I'm gonna change my window. Alright, so this is the test from homework 6. There were a couple of errors from it. Let me try and zoom in here, because I know it can be hard to see. Okay, the board entrance test. Right, so board entrance test should just be checking. Yeah, this is recorded now, don't worry. I'll upload it soon. It'll be a YouTube video, most likely. But the trouble with this is right here. So these two lines indicate that you're actually putting the piece on a board square. Once you can move, can you start the project? Of course. I mean, yeah, these two lines don't make sense in the context of word entrance test. It doesn't make sense. So if you just remove these and see what happens, that could be pretty cool too. And as well, if you didn't do white starts and you did some other variable or you're using a different method, you'll need to make changes. So feel free to make changes to the test if you need to, because there are some troubles with it. It doesn't work with everyone's code. You can kind of do can move however you want. There's multiple approaches, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. It does need changes. But that's the warning I have about this here. Yeah, LaShawn, I've got I'm recording this, and I've also got the slides up. Can I post the slides again? Here we go. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say about the test. So if you've got the, yeah, how do I pin this? Hold on. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about the test, because if it's not working, don't be so quick to say it's your code. Just try and look at what the code for the test is trying to do and make your code like make sense. Making sense is more important than the test. Yes, I'm gonna go back to the slideshow. Oh my god, you're kidding me, right? Okay, Discord picked the perfect time to crash. That's wild. Alright, are we back? Now it's the lottery whether someone gets in the stream again. Try and implement parts of the project piece into record. I don't know what you mean. But I've talked about CanMove. It's the hardest part of the project for sure. Yeah, so, but other than that, yeah, taking turns. So if you've played like online or something, you've seen that if you land on a rosette, you get to go again. So that's just kind of a wrench that gets thrown in things. So you've got to keep track of like where they land, if they move, and such. Not to mention, you also need to write code for movement. It probably looks a lot like CanMove, depending on how you write it, of course. And yeah, if you haven't already, I think I mentioned it, but probably not in the recording. But when you first load in your board, you start your game, and your board pieces or your pieces, they don't actually know where the start is. So you need to search through.
Learned anything, and are we ready to go? Again, you just make sure that you include questions on the dependent IV1 and IV2. You don't want to get to the end of the interview.
I think someone's in a lecture. Okay. All right. Where was I? I can't remember. Yeah, so you load in your board, you've got all your board squares, but uh, you don't know where the beginning and end is. So that's something you need to find first. You just need to find the start of the board. First thing you do before anyone takes turns, and as before you even like make your pieces for each player. This is what you should do: is find the beginning of the board for each color. Yeah, and I said some people didn't do that, so they didn't add a variable to their pieces, so they just added something to can move, which is cool too. The code for checking who wins is pretty simple. You know that if everyone's pieces are complete, they won. So anytime someone moves their pieces, you just check, okay, are there any that aren't complete? If so, they didn't win. That could be a pretty simple function. Yeah, so I graded my students' project once, and I finished it. And I wanted to say, like, uh, if you have some spare time left before you submit, make sure to like put comments in, because if you don't, it can be kind of hard for me to figure out what parts you've looked at, what parts should work if something doesn't work. It kind of just makes it harder to provide points for partial credit if there aren't any comments in it, as well as like it being 1 or 2 points off for coding standards. And yeah, some people have copied whole sections of like code into their one file. So for example, the board square methods, they should stay in their own file. But you shouldn't need to copy it in. You just import it with the import statement. And as well, there are these things called forbidden magics, and you shouldn't use them because they're just not beneficial to doing 201. And I'll share this link as well because I've got it. All right. Yeah, if your homework 6 part 5 worked, but then when you do the project it doesn't, it could be because the testing script isn't like super thorough. What's the example for that? For the white starting at 1-1? Like what context? I mean, don't hurt yourself over like not doing part 5 or not getting it to work, because from what I've seen, the majority of people did not get it to work or only worked partially. You don't use white starts? I mean, I do. You don't have to input it a different way. It can be exactly the same way as in the test. Yeah, homework 6 hard codes the white starts position, but you actually find the white starts position in your project. You have to find it yourself by searching through the board. Yes, exactly. If you find the entrance position, you can set each of your pieces starting like board entry variables to that if you want. No, not the board file. Not the board file. I don't have a blank copy of the project. Hold on. I'm gonna look for one. gonna whip one open real quick. Okay. Change my window. Alright. Load board, where are we at? Am I looking at the right part of it? I thought I was. Oh yeah, play game down here. Right, so when you run your code for the first time, the first thing that happens is it runs the constructor in main, and the constructor runs load board. Someone's got their mic on. Okay. Yeah, when you run load board, it'll give you a list of board squares. So when you search, when I say search through the board, I mean you're iterating through each of those elements in the self.board. Self.board 2D list? No, it's not a 2D list, it's 1D. I mean, you may be thinking that because the board squares have a position value that is a tuple with an xy. You don't actually ever need to say what the position is explicitly, except for printing it out and comparing if this spot is equal to the same as another spot in the pieces. Like the piece can move or just moving in general. Yeah, you can iterate through self.board because it's a list. And so when you iterate through it, each value is a separate board square. I mean, the entrance is going to be a string called either white or black. Yeah, you need the XY because the display board uses it. And it helps you kind of know like where on the board your piece is. If you know that 0, 0 is the top left. The questions are going through pretty quick. Position. Are you talking, John Dayton? Are you talking the position value in a board square, or no, in a piece? Yes, that is a board square. I can't answer that question. I don't know how likely you're going to get an extension. I mean, this shouldn't be a hard project. What makes it hard is I feel like you weren't all given exactly what you need. Like if you were given every member variable you needed for piece, it would be easier. And if the tests were what in that sense, the test could be one size fits all, but they aren't because you don't have all of you need, like all of what you need for the piece, because that's up to you, and that's what kind of makes it difficult. Can you add parameters to the can move function? I'm going to say yes. Yeah, classes are new. But this week's lab is on classes. So since you're in my section, you're gonna get it like at 1. But oh no, several people are typing. Since there are 50 people in here, I'd say keep them in the chat. What's Project 3? Dude, I have no idea. Alright, I think I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and stop the recording at this point because actually no, I gotta give you my last slide, of course. My last slide. Yeah, there we go, hang in there. Hmm. I'm not too sure what you mean, Izine. Okay, so each board square has a piece associated. I'm gonna upload the video to YouTube. Each board square has a piece associated with it, as in a piece that's on it. It could be none if there's nothing there. But self.piece.position is the board square the piece is on. Board diagram. Is this in the project, or are you talking about the homework test? Ah, and which board are you looking at? Like which board file? Yeah, that's a diagram of the board, but I don't know which file you're talking about. Yeah, the project test isn't a real board. It's made up. It's only got like 5 squares on it, and the coordinates don't even matter. They're made up as well. They're just there for fun. I think I'm gonna pull out at 12:40, so I can go piss my pants. Yeah, so white starts has to be set to the correct. Hold on. White starts. Yeah, so for this example here, I've just got 3 board squares, and I know that this is the beginning, so each of these have to get white starts as being 1, like board square 1. But for the project, if you find where the entrance is to the board before you start like making all your pieces and stuff, that's the value that gets put in. And the test, it set it to BS_1 is white starts. But for this example here, I call it board square 1, so that's what it's set to. And in the actual project, it'll be different for each board. And LaShawn, next white. Oh, I think, yeah, that was already answered. Next white is an actual board square. I think it did. I said this is exit equals black. I think I meant white. Definitely meant white with that, but it could also be black depending on the board. But pretend this says white, right where my cursor is, if you can see the stream, but you probably can't. Board square 3 exit is black. Let me. I don't have it open still, do I? How many boards are there? Too many, and you can make your own. Yeah, you should find the entrance either before the pieces are made or before you start actually playing the game, like with the turn taking and stuff. Office hours, I can look. It's probably pretty bad. All right, it looks like. Oh no, you know what? You don't want to know. You don't want to know how full it is. Can move. Where is it? Ah, yes. I mean, it's basically everything that the homework problem says it needs to do, but I added a couple of quick things. These first 2 bullet points are just 2 simple checks that can kind of simplify the rest of it. If you know that num moves isn't 0, you can't move. Really, if you know num moves is 0, you can't move. If you know that the piece is complete, you can't move. And after that, if this piece is on the board, it's pretty simple. But if it's not on the board, that means you've already checked it's not complete and it's not on the board. So you need to put it on the board either by using an extra parameter for CanMove or by referencing self dot whatever the start is. So num moves is your roll, and each space you move counts as 1 from the roll. No, you don't. You don't need to. You can't traverse the board to find the entrance, actually, because if this piece isn't on the start, it won't know. So you need to add a variable with the start on it. So the whole traversal of the board to find the start should begin before you even call CanMove ever. Yes, pieces can jump over other pieces. So you only need to check if there's a piece on a tile at the end, like after you've moved num moves times. And there's so many questions, but I really gotta pee. Don't worry, Brian's gonna carry you. All right, once again, I'll end this slide. Yeah, thank you, and hang in there. And my students, I'll see you at 1, hopefully. Our lab is on classes, so if that's your problem, it should help, at least looking at it. So I'm going to dip. Thank you all for coming.